if it's material that I can't dig and don't feel, then I don't care who wrote it, man. I just don't do it, because I don't think that I'm doing justice to the writer or whoever, and most of all to the fans. I like to try and put everything I got into whatever song I do. I like to be quite versatile, if possible, but I want to constantly keep doing whatever the people want. This is what I want to. This is the kind of artist I want to be. I've always tried to be the people artist, whatever the trend changed to, except psychedelic. I never did go that route. But other than that, man, whatever the people want, this is what I try and give.
Hello, this is Dan McClosky. Little Milton is my guest. We're talking to him. Little Milton of blues fame and R&B fame. You haven't been out San Francisco way in a long time, have you?
No, Dan, I haven't. It's been the year of 1966, to be exact, since I was out here.
What's kept you back there so long?
Well, actually, the only thing I can really think of is we had our connection out here with a promoter that passed in 1966, the name of Mr. Charles Sullivan. He was doing most of the blues acts, he was booking most of the guys out here then. And since then, I just didn't have but that one connection. So since then, we just, never could make the right connections to get out here, although I've been wanting to get out here,
You got into entertainment at 15 or so.
Yeah, around that age, very early age.
What was your background, where you came from?
My home is originally Greenville, Leland, Mississippi. And as a whole, I guess maybe you probably hear this story so many times from the average so-called soul singers, ironic enough is mine started in the church. We started singing at a very early age. I guess I must have been about 5 or 6 years old, and participating in the little programs that they would have at the church, what may have you. So it started from there, and from there, it was another guy that we used to do some duets, together, and that was the thing. And from that, I decided that I wanted to do something that was a little more, should I say, financially, responding like. So then we tried to make a few bucks, and we go into a different thing. But I stopped spirituals at a very early age as well. I guess couldn't have been any more than about 10, 11 years old, but from about 4 or 5 years of age, up until I was 10, 11, we did spirituals, in the church.
Where did the guitar fit in? Was that?
It's a very interesting story about the guitar. Now, during this time, I was always interested in the guitar. Like, my mom tells me of some incidents when I was very small. We lived outskirts of town, right outside of Leland, Mississippi. And they used to have things that they would call suppers, juke joints or what may have you. And after the town would close up, because like then, I think they would close, the towns would close something like about 10 or 11 o'clock. And it would usually be a place in the country, like right outside.
Roadhouse.
Right, something like this, where everybody could go and have fun. So what they would do in the front room, because like now we probably would call it a living room, but then it was just a front room because you had beds in every room, And they would take the bed down, and then they would take the kitchen table.
I mean, this was a real house.
Right. So they would take the bed down and move this furniture into the other room, and they would take the kitchen table and put it across the door from this particular room to the kitchen, see? So then my mom would serve sandwiches and what may have you, across the table, and all of it wasn't lemonade, and
a lot of booze in there.
Right. So
homemade at all?
Yeah, sure. You're talking about corn liquor now, right?
Yeah.
Rye, what may have you. Yeah. Sure, they'd have that. And she tells me though that they would hire some guy. I'm sure he couldn't have been making any more than maybe $1.50, $2 or something a night, But they would hire this guy, and he would come out and play, you know. And these people would be dancing and having fun, you know. And they'd have me tucked away in the back room, you know, in the bed. And she said, like, I'd fall out of the bed coming in there when the guy would start hitting on the guitar, you know. And when they look around, I'd be standing up in the middle of the floor with my little long undies on, you know. So it just, the guitar, the strings just fascinated me, you know. And I said one day I was going to really learn how to play the guitar. So finally I ordered a guitar, a little $14.50 guitar from a catalog company. I think it was Walter Fields. And she didn't know what it was. She thought it might have been something that she had ordered, you know, and they was just late sending it, you know, sending the order. And even though I got it out with my own money, but it was a little hassle about it when she discovered that it was a guitar, you know. So I got it out that Saturday, and she told me that I would definitely have to take it back come Monday, but I was able to persuade her, you know, to let me keep it. And then I started learning how to play the guitar, and that was that.
What kind of people inspired you?
Well, I had people like some of the older guys, like T-Bone Walker, for one. This was one guy that really inspired me as far as playing the guitar, because during my time trying to learn how to play the guitar, he was the only guy that was playing the guitar picking one string at a time. Most of the other guys were more or less chording and like frailing on the guitar, you know. Right along that same area, then came my good friend, and I'm sure you're quite familiar with him, B.B. King.
Mm-hmm.
And he was playing something on the T-Bone Walker style, which he and we've discussed this time and time again, you know, that we agreed that T-Bone really gave most of us, you know, the inspiration of learning how to really make the guitar, in a sense, they call it making the guitar talk or sing, you know, one string at a time. And then that was Louis Folsom, you know, very wonderful friend of mine as well, and very tremendous musician. As far as some of the singers are concerned, naturally I was inspired by B.B. You know, he's a little older than I am, and he started out there for a good little while before me, you know. But he was a guy that's such a clean-cut guy. And then I had the pleasure of working with some of the other guys, like the late and great Sonny Boy Williamson.
Now you worked with him as a guitarist in his band.
Right, as a guitar and a singer, as a side man, you know. And he was a guy that really helped to guide my personality, because, you know, in the right direction. You know, I don't know.
What kind of man was he?
He was a wonderful guy. He was just down to earth, and he was for real. If he dug you, he did, and you would know it. And if he didn't, he would tell you. You know, it wasn't any phonyism at all about this guy.
Talking about B.B. King influences and the others, a very strong B.B. King influence heard on, I don't know, was it your very first record we heard? It sounded like Woke Up This Morning.
Right. It really was. It was done with the Ike Turner Band. That's another guy, you know. It's a good friend of mine. We came. Ike's home is about 65 or 70 miles north of my home, which Ike's home is Clarksdale, Mississippi, and mine being Leland, Greenville area, you know. And we got together. And my very first recording was done with Ike's band. So at this particular time, B.B. was really going strong. And, you know, it's just a thing. Like, even now, if some guy comes out with a thing that's really burning everybody up, somebody's going to try and capitalize on it, you know. So Ike thought that I could really sound a lot like B.B. So me being a little young, this helped me too now, you know, it really did. But we did this thing. Somebody told me, which at that particular time, B.B.'s tune, Woke Up This Morning, was burning the country up, especially down there, you know, everywhere. So naturally, if you could get anything going into that bag, then you had a hit. The other side of that B.B. sounding type record, I'm sure that you can go back to the around that same era, that Fats Domino was doing a big thing. He was really the monster of a star, at that time. So we did Begging My Baby, and sounds, we were just, as I said, young, and we were really searching, just trying to find myself. But most of all, I must be honest with myself and with you, then we were really trying to get a hit record, any way we could get it.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, did you work with Sam Phillips on these?
Yeah, but it was mostly Ike Turner and myself, Ike was, he had done some recordings before, and I trusted his judgment, and I wrote all the tunes, but he would get all of the arrangements, together. We'd sit there in the studio.
You did them all at Sun Studio in Memphis?
Yeah, right, on Sun Studio.
A funky little place.
It was something else then, man.
Is that the same one where Elvis and Jerry Lee
Right,
cut?
This is where I first met Elvis.
Do you like to listen to country music?
Oh, man, yeah, I love it. Like, I played country and western, like we used to. When I was living in Mississippi, you couldn't make any money in the predominantly black clubs, so therefore we would have to play, if we worked any time other than on the weekend, you'd have to play the white joints, right? So which means you're talking about, say, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and something like this. And around Greenville at that particular time, they wanted standard tunes, like ballads, and this is it really it was a great experience for me, I learned to do ballads and standard tunes, doing this, and country and western. However, at that time, and around my teenagehood, my life, you'd get Del Rio, Texas. Then you could get the Grand Ole Opry,
Yeah.
That's how I got acquainted with with the names, rather, of all of the country and western artists, like Honest Tubb, and Eddie Arnold, and people like this, There weren't any Charlie Prides then.
Yeah,
which
that's
he's
right.
beautiful now, But this is all we could listen to, They had a little program that used to come on in the evenings at 6:15. It was the Louis Jordan show, and it would only be there for 15 minutes, And other than that, you just didn't get no soul programs.
At all?
No, it wasn't any.
In a way that helped, though.
It did, yeah. It widened my understanding about country and western, and I learned to love it, and I still do. I can almost tell you every major country and western artist that's really worth naming, And I've had the pleasure of meeting quite a few of them.
What is the ingredient of these people? Their ability to express feelings, to make you believe that they're singing,
right?
They really
feel,
mean what they're singing.
Yeah, I feel that the story, which I have the highest regard for country and western, because to me, it and the blues and gospel tells it just like it is. And to find an artist that can make you feel, which means that he or she is feeling the same thing within themselves, and they can project this thing out, to you. It's a thing like, it's just for real. I just get a for real, unique sound and a unique and for real meaning from it, This is my theory of it.
Well, let's get back into some of this stuff to tie it in. Bobbin Records was a label that you got involved with for a while.
Right. We started this little label in St. Louis, and the way this came about was Bob Lyons, which was the president of the company, the little independent company. He and I, like at that time, were pretty decent friends, And he thought he had anyway some connection with Mercury Records. So we did this thing, Lonely Man.
I'm a Lonely Man?
I'm a Lonely Man. We did this thing in the radio studio.
Where he was working at a station or something?
He was the station manager. He was the manager of that particular station. And we did this as like an audition tape, to send to Mercury Records, up to his connection. And it came out kind of nice, real good. And we sent it. And the guy sent it back with a note and said, like, to never send him any more garbage like that, you know. That's all he had. So I kind of embarrassed Bob Lyons, because he had, like, told me that he and this guy was really together, you know. When it came back with this note in it, he did have guts enough to tell me about it and showed me the note, you know. So he said, listen, if you're willing to take a chance, so I know a little about it. So I'll start a label, you know. So we didn't go back into the studio to recut this. This is just the way it was in the studio, that when we did it for the audition tape.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. The record sold something like, about 75 or 80,000 copies. So when it started moving, then the guy from Mercury calls, you know. He wants it. So then Bob Lyons asked me, so, well, what do you want to do? So naturally, you know what I said, which I wouldn't dare say on your program, you know. But we said, man, tell the guy go jump. You know, we gone this far with it, we just keep it. And we started the label with this particular record.
And then you cut a lot of others on Bob.
Right, we did several things. We stuck there with bobbing until Chess got interested in Little Milton. And even though we had a contract with bobbing, the guy, Bob Lyons, and I had a verbal agreement that he said, like, Milton, you know, we're good friends, and like, if the time comes, you know, that a break is going to come for you, then I just won't stand in your way, you know, because you've been good to bobbing, and you made bobbing, and blah, 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 you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then when that break did come, Chess got interested. Then it was altogether different, so we wound up in a lawsuit, you know, what may have. And they made a compromise with the thing.
He didn't want to let you go.
No, he didn't want to. Well, in fact, he didn't. He didn't release me, you know. So that did a thing as far as that supposed to have been friendship was concerned, you know.
What friendship?
Between, yeah, right. What friendship? But you know how guys, you listen to a story, and you can believe him, and I did believe the guy, you know, because we really kind of got along very well, you know, and I thought we had a pretty decent understanding, you know. But then when the break came for me, then he backed up, you know, on his word, you know.
Did you learn a good lesson from it, do you think?
Oh yeah, I really did. I learned Did I learn a lesson? Yeah, because I lost a lot of money. Because during this bobbing record period, I was the only artist at one time, you know, and was making money for the company. So I just didn't like the 90-day, you know, statements and what may have you. I didn't take down any money, you know. I just let the money stay in the company, because actually I was looking for a piece of the action. And it had been promised in a sense, like it, but it was just no big deal. I wasn't in a hurry, you know. You got a buddy, and it's your friend. You trust the guy. Hey, you know, you go along. This proved to be fatal, because when the disagreement came about, naturally, I'm not going to get any money then, you know, and I didn't get any. Consequently to that, and I learned that Chess had the agreement that they made with him, where they were to pay all of the monies from the sales of a couple tunes that I had done for them to Bobbin Records, which they were supposed to be responsible for my share, you know, which I never got, you know, never will, so what the heck, you know, it's one of those things.
How about with Checker itself? Chess and Checker are one in the same company out of Chicago.
Right, yeah. Well, they played...
and now you can speak freely because you're not with him anymore,
right? But they played the... and you know, it's not buttering anything, but they played the biggest part in my career as far as the records were concerned, you know. So far, they did more for me when the old man was alive. I'm talking about Leonard Chess, you know. They really would be responsible for the making of the name Little Milton.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be responsible for that.
Do you think they took an interest in the music, or they just wanted to exploit you? They knew it'd make money.
Well, now, Leonard Chess and his brother Phil, they took an interest in me as a whole, and we had the type of relationship that was a little stronger than just an artist and a company, I was kind of like one of the guys. They were quite fair with me, man, to a great degree. I can say this, and there are a lot of artists that had a lot coming if they just asked for it, but they didn't,
And a lot of people just didn't have a sense to...
Right, they just didn't ask, man.
And chess was its own business and told them to be quiet about it.
He was a businessman.
Yeah.
If you asked for it and it's yours, you got it. If you didn't, then maybe. If he never felt like saying, well, hey, look, you got something coming over here, and you was going to get your monthly, your...
statement.
You're going to get your statements and what have you. But if you had any questions about it, the books were there. But then these guys would just accept whatever, was given to them. And hey, man, no questions asked,
When you moved to Chess Records, you had a lot of big hits, right?
Right. Our very first major hit, we did Blind Man. Bobby did this Blind Man in an album. We just happened to be on a Texas tour, and at a record stop, one of these little rack sales, Bobby was very, very big then. We stopped in there, and I saw this, and bought the album, and were playing tunes from the album. I heard this tune, and I said, like, here's a heck of a tune. If the guy could really just put in something into the tune, it could be a smash, So I played around with the tune, and the band, I had an arranger, a guy that was working with me, a baritone player. He was a pretty decent arranger. I told him I wanted him to write it very close to the Bobby Bland rendition of it, which is what he did, And we came up with a smash. But we got ahead of them, because we got out there first before they did. So then, Don Roby, being the greedy type guy that he is, I guess that comes under the heading of being a shrewd businessman, or trying to be anyway, he got a little jealous about it.
Wow.
Bobby was really a little too big for that, so that it started people, when he did what he did, and I'll explain to you what I'm talking about, he then went back into the album of Bobby's and pulled this Blind Man out of Bobby's album and released it as a single on top of ours.
To compete with you.
Right.
Yeah.
But Bobby's, his version of it was much weaker than ours, see? And it helped me. And I think maybe it just might have, not taken anything from Bobby, which he's a good friend of mine, I think it just might have not necessarily hurt him, but he had no competition at that particular time. In other words, let's say that the public wasn't aware of him having any competition. And with these two tunes like this, I believe that the public kind of took a second turn, and said, now, wait a minute. Somebody out there can do something in this guy's field,
Yeah.
And it helped me, So consequently, it was our first big record. And from that, we had We're Gonna Make It, which was truly my biggest record. We got 1,000,000 copies on that.
For a while, it really was true then that a lot of your stuff came from Bobby Bland and some from B.B. King, really.
Right. Both of these guys, actually, singing and listening to other artists and not having any records of your own. This happens so many times. It's almost impossible to not hit somebody if you don't have anything of your own. You got to play for the people. You want to make a living, so you're going to have to sing whatever that's playing on the jukeboxes, right? So then you might sing 2 of BB's now, you might sing 2 of Bobby's now, you might sing 2 of somebody else's. And doing everybody's tune, I was able to find myself, And we've had so many people that branded me with sounding like Bobby, and some say sound like BB, and
Yeah.
this bothered me for a long time, and it kept me constantly searching and fighting, in a sense, trying to keep, you don't really want to hear this. If you feel that you got some talent of your own, you don't want to hear anybody walk up to you and say, hey, you sound just like blah, blah. It bothered me for a long time, and then it was a guy told me, BB, he said, listen, man, say you got talent, and what you do is find a tune that you like to sing and just sing it the best way you know how to sing it. Whatever you feel, this is what you do. If it hits somebody else, so what? So I started from this, and
that's
next thing I know, little Milton was really born. I don't have that anymore. But nobody walks up to me now and say, you sound just like BB, or you sound just like Bobby, or you sound just like Lloyd Price. None of this anymore. You're Milton.
I caught your show the other day live down at the New Monk in Berkeley. And I noticed that the first half of the show was devoted to, more of the Stax sound. Of course, you are with Stax Records now. And it was more hit-oriented. And then the second half of the show was more blues-oriented.
Right.
Which made me kind of wonder whether you're... Well, I'm trying to figure out where your real interests lie. Would you prefer to play the blues and make money at it, or... Because you didn't even play the guitar for the first half.
For the first,
half of the show.
We play the guitar on the coming up, kind of the I guess you would say the last quarter of the first show. We play the guitar, and we do a different bunch of tunes. We do a medley of blues, strictly blues tunes. Well, actually, what happens is we try, which is hard. But we try and do all of the tunes, well, most of the tunes anyway, that people can identify, like the past records, the hit records, And then we try and get a little deeper into it as we go, you see, and leave the, as they say, the best things. We're not necessarily the best things, but the deeper things for the climax. This is what we try to do. The guitar, man, I love, and that's my first love, really. That's it.
Just playing. You would prefer to play the blues, you think?
Well, if we, I don't really know. That's a pretty hard question to answer.
I mean, with you in this day and age, you've got to play soul,
right?
To make money,
right? So
there's no other way to do it,
right? So I feel that my tunes, my hit records, the people make them hits. So I think that they're entitled to hear them. I don't think that I deserve I don't think I have the right to just come on and pick up the guitar and just start playing what I feel, regardless of the audience. I feel that they paid their money to get in, and they are entitled. Somebody came to hear. Say somebody came to hear If Walls Could Talk, and somebody came to hear Baby I Love You. You never know. And then somebody came to hear Sweet 16. I Can't Quit You, Baby. Stuff like that. I'm looking very strongly to the time that I can play the better joints naturally to make the big buck. This is where it's at now, and I feel that the only way I can do this is to get the proper exposure, which is something that nobody can tell you how you do this. You just have to keep searching around out here, and just with the help of God, man, then you might make the right connection. And this is about it, man, because I've been out here a long time, and I'm not. I've always been the progressive, or should I say, aggressive type entertainer, and I guess I wouldn't be too much of an entertainer if I wasn't expecting to get some of the better things, some of the better gigs. And naturally, you want to get off a circuit where you have to work so often. I don't mind working hard, but you just have to work so often, man. And this, you don't have any time for like holidays and all this. These are our biggest days. Like when most of you guys are at home eating turkey and what may have you on Thanksgiving, we're out here trying to earn some money to buy some turkey for the day after.
Yeah.
Can you see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
Christmas days and, the Christmases and all these things, man. They're very important.
Living this kind of life, can you save up much? Or is it...
Well, it all depends, Dan, if you make something. And if you're conscientious enough in your mind, man, you can save, I've saved a few pennies here and there, but you don't mean to sound greedy. But then, as I said, every time when you look around, man, there's always something over here that you see that you don't necessarily wish you had, but then you wouldn't mind having it, a certain amount. So I guess when you stop feeling this way,
Yeah.
then you're pretty well done in anyway. If you're satisfied at one particular level, I think that you'll.
Then that's it.
Yeah, but I
But
I
you're
just
not
never
getting
been that way.
you're not getting bitter.
Oh no, I'm not at all. No, I plan to be out here for a while longer yet, And then if it never does come, man, I've lived good, I've enjoyed most of the things of life. I've gotten a lot of the things that I set a goal to get, and I live pretty clean, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just been nice, man. It's been beautiful, But you always trying to elevate yourself up farther, as this is human nature. If you're
Yeah.
thinking that way, the way I think anyway.
So you'd always like to work, you'd just like to work less, then.
Yeah, I'm sure that I'll forever be playing music.
Have
As
you
long
thought
as
of
I
getting
live.
into producing?
Well, I'm into that now, but I'm not doing too much of it. I got my production company set up, and the management, publishing, and booking. But right now, I've got somebody else running it for
Do
me.
you have a manager?
No manager.
You do it yourself.
Right. I wouldn't mind having a manager, but I would want a manager that's gonna manage
Mhm.
instead of sit on his,
Yeah.
and take orders.
Uh-huh.
Because see, one thing I had to learn, I've had managers, but the one thing I did learn that is quite important to me is that if you got a hot record, man, the promoters are gonna find you, regardless. They're gonna find you somewhere. So your manager, when you're hot, you really don't need a manager. When you
Mhm.
need the guy is when you're not so hot,
Yeah.
and he can pull strings and do things for you, But anybody can answer the telephone and, take some dates for you. You know how much to tell them. You're going to tell them how much to ask for. And if you're hot, the promoters are going to pay. But here you got to give a guy 20 or 30%, and he's not going to do anything. So right now, I wouldn't mind having a manager if the guy is going to really do something for me.
If you're gonna hustle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if he's going to hustle for me, then that means that he's going to make a buck for himself. He's going to make a buck for me. But if he's not going to do anything, I don't need anybody to just do nothing. So when I got free of my manager, the last manager I had, then I just didn't bother about getting another manager. But if a guy comes along, that's really on the ball, I don't mind, because you can't make it all, man, by yourself. And you need somebody to introduce you to some fine opportunities that you may never get, And if a guy's into that thing and he can help me, I'd be I'd be fooled if I said, well, no.
Yeah.
So I'm willing. I'm just waiting
Yeah.
for the right guy to come along. There's no questions about that.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I think in the new direction you're going in, aiming towards this, more of a KDIA type market, a soul
Mm-hmm.
station type of thing, you're going to we're going to make it. as they say.
That was beautifully said, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. We've been talking to Little Milton, Mr. Blues and Mr. Soul Man. Thank you very much.